Welcome to another segment of TV Toastmasters. My name is Allison Bennett, and I will be your host tonight. Today, whatever time of day you're watching this, at any rate, we have a really great guest today. Have you ever thought like it's okay to be like everybody else, or it isn't okay to be different? Well, today we have Echo Sullivan, who is a trainer, and one of the things she trains on is dare to be different. So sit back or sit forward and see how you can dare to be different and how that could change your life. Echo, thanks so much for being here. I'm so excited you're here. And tell us, like, what is this dare to be different, and like, why would we want to do that?
I'm so excited to be here with you. Daring to be different is looking at your life and finding out what patterns you kind of run that keeps you stuck where you're at and prevents you from having the things that you want in your life. So daring to be different is stepping out of your comfort zone.
Oh, okay. So I know that one of the things that I used to be really good at was being a problem solver. And that was great because I could find problems. I could find problems other people didn't even imagine they were there. And I loved it. I was like Sherlock Holmes of problem finding. And then I would solve them, of course. And then at one point, somebody said, so you're spending all of your time finding problems to solve. Why don't you instead be different and be a solution finder? And that little piece of information made all the difference in my world. Is that like what you're talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Daring to be different is looking at your life and finding out we have problems for a variety of reasons. We have problems because they're comfortable. We have problems
Wait. What do you mean? I thought problems aren't comfortable. So you're telling me that problems are comfortable? What's that about?
I'm telling you problems are comfortable because everybody has them.
Oh.
So you're like everybody else when you choose to have problems.
Oh, you know what? That is right. I know when I went from being a problem solver to a solution finder, some of my friends around me got really uncomfortable because I didn't have anything to talk to them about. I wasn't like talking about how terrible everything was. In fact, I was talking more about how things could get better. So you're right. I get that. What else?
Well, that's part of how you create your life. So when you dare to be different and you change the way you view things, instead of things being a problem, you find out how they could be a solution, then you're creating your life from a different avenue. And also, we have to look at that created some other, quote, problems.
Oh, it did. It was terrible. No, just kidding. It was terrible for my friends. It was great for me.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's terrible for your friends because they have expectations of you.
You're right. You're right. They did have expectations that I would join in the problem patch or whatever. Okay,
right.
Cool.
And they have expectations how you communicate your own problems to them, and then how they can identify with you and how you can identify with them and their problems. So when you start looking at, are these really problems?
Ooh, that's a good question. So give me an example about that.
All right, I'll give you an example of a problem that, just like you were saying, you told people you were a problem solver, and then all of a sudden you found out that you could reframe it.
Yes.
And you found that it could be different than a problem. You made it something where you're creating a new reality with it. So another thing would be, let's take, for instance, my daughter.
Okay.
My daughter going to high school, and school was a problem. Everything about school was a problem. But when she started realizing that school wasn't just, it was an avenue to get somewhere else. So when she could graduate high school, she could go beyond that and get somewhere else. Instead of looking at it as a problem, it was a solution to getting to the next step in her life.
Oh, okay. So did that help shift an attitude then?
It helped shift an attitude, and she'd go back and forth sometimes, where she'd fall into the trap of, it's a problem, because it could be a trap. And then we would reframe it, and she would then go, okay, you're right. And it helped change her internal compass of that.
Oh, okay. So I know I've heard that we have thoughts, and when we repeat the same thoughts over and over, then we can have an attitude. and we're talking about teenagers. So like that, the thought of, oh, high school is terrible. So we
Yeah.
keep thinking about that. Then we expect it to be terrible, and then we start having an attitude. And if we have an attitude long enough, then now it turns into a mood, and then a mood can turn into a personality, and then all of a sudden you're going through your life just not happy with the world at all. And then that turns into a belief. And then the belief system, of course, feeds back into the thought. How do we get out of that loop?
How you get out of that loop is you ask questions.
Ooh.
So you ask questions about, is it true? Is it real for me? Is there something I could do with this information? Does it benefit me in some way?
Oh.
Right? Is there another way that I could look at it that would have a better benefit? Do I have to keep it?
Do I have
Right.
to keep it? Wait a minute. So are you saying I have a choice on whether I keep my problems or not?
That's exactly right. You have a choice, and choice changes everything.
So we have a few minutes to talk about choice before we go to our break. So explain that. How does choice change everything, and why do you think that we have a choice to have problems or not? Because everybody has problems, right?
Well, or do we?
Oh, or
So
do we?
sometimes we have problems,
Mm-hmm.
and other times we have solutions.
Okay.
And the choice is, how do we want to view it?
Okay.
Because even some of the worst, quote, problem
Mhm.
has usually a solution in it. So it's realizing, how can I make this different? How
Okay.
can I dare to step out of my comfort zone of making things a problem and identifying with it as an issue? And maybe I'm identifying with it because I want to keep my friends, or that's the way I learned how to communicate it. And so choice changes everything in that it gives you different opportunity to see that there's more than one side of it.
I love that. So I think what we're going to do is when we come back from break, we are going to go talk about choices and how do we actually make choices. I know that for me, sometimes making a choice, is it right or is it wrong?
Yep.
Or what choice can I make, and do I have to make the absolute right choice? Sometimes I have a hard time knowing what to choose. When we get back, will you be able to help us on how to make choices and what we can ask about that?
Absolutely.
Excellent. So we will be right back. Thank you so much.
Welcome to an opportunity to take the next step of your professional speaking journey. I want you to be honest with yourself. Have you ever wished you were a star in a television show? Or at an event where the media is interviewing bystanders and you are wanting to be picked to give your opinion of the event? Or even in the smallest sense, you're at a sports game and secretly hope that your smiling face would appear on that big jumbo screen TV? But the jumbo screen always finds the fans with the painted faces. And you think to yourself, maybe next time. Well, what if I can offer you a chance to be on TV? Would you take it? That is what I want to offer you now. I'm Dottie Love, Associate TV Producer and Director. Toastmasters International is one of the largest organizations whose mission is to help improve your speaking skills. And District 7 is expanding your opportunities to do speaking via television. We have 4 fully equipped television studios and TV Toastmaster broadcasts to over 500,000 homes, plus a YouTube channel. Who knew? We want to invite you to take advantage of using media and television, either in front or behind the scenes. Let me share a few options that you have. First, you can be a guest on a show. Highlight your business or hobby or your community interest. Anything you're passionate about. Be a featured guest. Secondly, you can train to be a host on an ongoing TV segment. We will train you for that. Third, what about creating your own talk show? We will train you for that as well and give you access to a community media studio to do just that. Or lastly, be behind the scenes, either running a camera or editing shows. You decide which avenue is best for you, and our TV Toastmasters team will help you to navigate to get the most out of your media experience. Personally, I've done them all. I started as a guest, went to hosting, up to directing my own TV show. I don't tell you this to impress you. I tell you this to impress upon you that your personal growth with Toastmasters is directly related to what you take advantage of. And I encourage you to be bold in looking for opportunities to stretch and grow. If this intrigues you, or if you have club members who you think that might be interested in this, please contact us here at TV Toastmasters. I'm Dottie Love, and you can reach me or any of us in the TV Toastmasters family at the contact information at the bottom of the screen. You can also find us on the web. Our website is 7512.toastmastersclub.org.
Welcome back to TV Toastmasters and this segment of Daring to be Different. One of the things we are talking about in Daring to be Different is about problems. Instead of being a problem solver, which is you're looking for problems all the time, I was a chief executive officer of problem solving and looking for problems. But instead of problem solving, perhaps being a solution finder. And how do we do that? We go into choice. So right now we're going to be talking with Echo Sullivan, who is a transformational leader, and she is going to talk to us about choice and what that looks like. Echo, welcome back.
Thank you. So in looking at choice,
Yes.
you want to look at the issue from multiple angles. And it's finding out, what can I do with this information?
Oh,
Right?
okay. So wait a minute. So things that come at us, it's just information. Is that what you're saying?
Just information.
Okay.
There doesn't need to be a judgment on it. We attach a judgment to things most of the time. And if we take the information from a data perspective, we're increasing, we take in data from every avenue of our life.
Oh, yes.
From the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, we're taking in a whole bunch of bits of data. And oftentimes we make a judgment on that data. And that's when the issues come in and we decide that there are problems or they're significant, and we attach the significance. So by having choice, you get rid of the significance by going out of the judgment. And so you can ask questions to get you out of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of questions can I ask to get me out of all of that significance? Because I think one of the reasons I liked problems because it made me significant. It gave meaning to my life. So if I'm trying to break that habit, what are some questions that I can ask?
Yep. One of the questions is in the significance is this true? And so we've talked about that a little bit already, but it's also even, is it mine? Maybe where you're coming from in the judgment of it is actually just programs that are installed in us through media, through schools, through our parents, through church, through all kinds of things that we do.
So what does that look like? What do you mean about that? I mean, how does that play out? Because that sounds a little weird.
It does sound a little weird. But if you think about it, from the time you're a baby and growing up, you're being influenced by your environment, by media, by your grandparents, by the activities you do, the community that you're in, and in addition to your parents grew up with their parents, and attitudes come in about certain behaviors and certain things that we make problems.
So what I'm hearing you say is to ask, is this really my belief? Is this really what I myself believe? Or is that I'm so used to my mom believing that, and so therefore I must believe it, or my dad, or you know, my school teachers, or the media. So you're actually saying question everything you believe.
I am saying question everything from a informational point of view.
Okay.
So it's questioning it of, is this really my belief? Is this a belief that I adopted?
Okay.
Is it a belief because I felt it's right to have this problem so that I can fit in? And where did that come from? And it's also looking at it from the aspect of, so if this is just information, I don't have to have a judgment on it. I can just gather the information and then I can determine, well, what do I want to do with that? And what kind of significance do I actually want to apply to it? Or does it even need to be significant?
So how does this help us dare to be different?
How it helps you to dare to be different is because most people don't even realize that they have all this information that has come in, that they've developed a judgment on, and a lot of their choices and actions that they're moving through life is on autopilot.
Autopilot. Oh my goodness. I know that I drive on autopilot sometimes, but I think sometimes I react on autopilot as well.
Yep, and that's a common thing. So we can react and resist. That is one common theme that people have in life, is we react and resist to things. And on the autopilot, yes, things become comfortable and then you just kind of continue to move through your life that way. Instead of maybe looking at things differently, maybe being willing to step out of that comfort zone, shut the autopilot off, and figure out, are there other ways that we could create our life and have different significance to us, where we're actually moving into a direction that might better suit us?
So if I don't know how to choose, if I'm learning how to choose differently, not just from autopilot, not just from what everybody has told me I have to do, how do I even know how to choose differently? Is there a trick or a tool or something I can do?
Absolutely. And it's something that you can do and you can practice, and the more you practice, you get good at it. And the more you get good at it, you just start leading your life that way. We talked a little bit about how beliefs come in.
Right.
And it's kind of creating a new belief system. And it's a belief system where you follow your internal compass.
Wait, I like that phrase. Internal compass. What is an internal compass? What do you mean? Not like that gut feeling or something?
It is a lot about the gut feeling, but it's also about recognizing when the gut feeling is the right thing for us.
Oh, so not necessarily it could be right for somebody else, but not right for, tell me more about that.
So sometimes our guts aren't exactly giving us the right information. And part of that's because of the programs that we have adopted by the information that we've taken in, and then we've added significance to it. So it's learning when that feeling is the right feeling. And how you do that is you follow your internal compass, and you start, there are three common ways that works. One way is if it feels light and heavy.
Okay, light and heavy.
Yep, light and heavy means, if I'm going to give you a great example of it.
Okay.
So we did a workshop, and one of the people at the workshop came in, and she actually had two choices for a job.
Okay.
And one choice she seemed pretty excited about, and it seemed like that was the choice she was leaning to.
Okay.
And one choice she was kind of on the fence on. And it seemed like maybe she wasn't going to go with that one.
Okay.
So in starting to ask her questions about the job opportunity, she was still enthusiastic with her voice.
Okay.
But then all of a sudden her energy started dropping, and it seemed like she was there. And then when we started asking questions about the other job, she started lifting up. And even though her voice didn't have as much excitement in it, her whole body like opened up. So this one was really heavy, and this one really opened up, and it was really light.
So you could actually watch what her real internal person or real internal compass was trying to say. Is like, this one, although it sounded like it was probably the right thing, really wasn't, because you could see the body posture. And then when the body posture came back up a little bit, that was probably the one that would make more joy or make her happier, or she knew something instinctively about that.
Right. She knew something instinctively that she wasn't consciously aware of.
Right.
So in having her just say, stop, when we were talking about one side,
Uh-huh.
stop,
Right.
recognize what your body's doing.
Right.
Okay, and we keep asking questions. Stop, recognize what your body's
Okay.
doing. And then we could show her which one really was the right choice for her by the light and heavy.
Right.
So that was one aspect.
Okay, one. What's another one?
Another one is expanding versus contracting.
Okay.
We have a tendency to expand out when things are really good and they feel good, right?
So do you mean expand out like expand out the waist? Or what are you talking about?
Sometimes, no, not in this situation. In this situation, I would say when you're trying to decide, is this the right decision for me, is noticing, do you kind of keep an open a presence with it? Versus when we get frustrated and things don't feel good, we tend to pull in and our muscles start tightening and we kind of slouch maybe a little bit, especially if we're frustrated. And that's an easier way to know, but you can just kind of tell because you start getting tense. Tension starts building in your body versus relaxation. And that's kind of the expansion versus the contraction.
Okay, great.
And so making decisions, if you ask yourself, what is that feeling like? So some people, it's really easy to feel the light and heavy.
Okay.
Other people, it's easier to feel expansion and contraction.
And what's number 3?
And number 3 is being able to follow what is, if you're being pulled towards something.
Oh.
So a lot of times, even in communication, sometimes you really back up and you feel like you're pushed away from it. Or even a decision, you're thinking, I don't know if I want to go there. And you kind of back up a little bit versus, gosh, that feels so good. And you kind of lean into it. That's a great way to also tell. Some people really get that internal compass of being pulled towards something or being pushed away from it.
So, and how does this help us dare to be different?
How it helps you dare to be different is you're actually following your internal compass.
Right.
Instead of putting significance on things which create problems.
Right.
So it gets us out of the problem mode. It allows us to look at things as data.
Right.
And just following our internal compass, which most people don't live their life that way. Although you'll notice the ones that do tend to be a lot happier in life.
You know, we were talking about choice and choice in how we see things. You know, do we see it from, you know, everything is terrible or everything is great? And we also have choice in how we react. And what are some other good choice type questions we can ask us to get us out of that, you know, automatic mode of this is the way it has to happen?
Well, I think some of the choice questions are asking ourselves, is it, or going into, that's just an interesting point of view. So looking at it from a perspective of, instead of necessarily a question, it's going into a statement. A statement being, that's an interesting point of view that they have that point of view. Instead of having a judgment on it of, wow, they have that point of view, it could be, that point of view is interesting.
I just had an idea. So sometimes I know with me, when I was in my problem solving mode, somebody would say something and I would get offended. It's like, how dare they think that of me? Instead of realizing that that's their own projection, that's in their own head, and that's their point of view, and they may forget what they said 2 seconds later. And so I can detach from it, and I can like set that aside and just go, interesting, that's interesting thing they said, and I can choose then to react or not.
Correct. It gives you choice.
I love that.
In how you look at it, and which opens up possibilities. So in looking at, there's a couple ways you can look at interesting point of view, like you were saying, with you felt that they had a judgment of you, right?
It's like, why do they think that of
when
me?
it's just data, it's just an interesting point of view that they have that's coming up. And it could be an interesting point of view that you have the point of view that they have that point of view of you.
Oh, so my reaction could be totally wrong. Or just not, it could just be a reaction, and then I can just take a look at that and go, well, that's really interesting that I think they think that.
Right, because there's no judgment on it.
Right.
So it's not right or it's not wrong. It's just information, and it allows you to step away and add a little bit of space so that you can also look at your internal compass. Are you being pushed away from that? Are you being pulled toward it? Is it light and heavy to you? Or maybe it could just be an interesting point of view and you don't have to attach a meaning
So in the
of
last
significance.
In
Yeah.
the last couple of minutes, what are some key things you want to leave us with so that we can change, we can think about, we can maybe dare to be just a little different?
I encourage you, dare to be different and create your life. Daring to be different is looking at, are problems really problems? And are they possibilities? Could we make these problems possibilities? Are these problems really ours, or are these things that have kind of been coded into us by the programs? Are we looking at it from what are the choices available to us? And what's our internal compass identifying and sharing with us? Because if we just take a moment and we really listen, then you'll have more opportunity to create your life and dare to be different.
So if people are interested in having you come help create their life differently, dare to be different, and all of that, how can they get a hold of you?
The way they can get a hold of me is by contacting me through thehappierhourcoachgroup.com.
The Happier Hour Coach Group. So is that a bar thing, or what is that? Is that like you go?
It's daring to be different.
Okay.
It isn't a bar thing, but it is a way that you can step outside of the way you've created your life and create something different.
I love it. Thank you so much, Echo. And thank you all for being here tonight or today or early in the morning, whenever you're watching this. And I hope that you have an opportunity to dare to be different, ask questions, perhaps be not a problem solver, but a solution finder. Until next time, see you later.